and Calvin Branch for the Raiders. And to kick off for the Denver Broncos, Jason Elam. Underway from Denver in a light snow right now. Fielded at the 6-yard line by Kaufman. A flag is thrown, and Napoleon brings it all the way back up to the 43. So a good run back by Kaufman, but most of it will be negated on a holding call. Larry Nemmers is tonight's referee. Rich Gannon coming out. And instead of starting up near the 40, he'll be backed up.
Okay,
Gannon, part of the draft of '87, initially picked by New England, even spent a year out of football, '94, and now back as the #1 guy in Oakland. Wheatley and Ritchie in the backfield, Brown and Jett outside, and Dudley, who had 2 touchdown catches last week, the tight end. Collins, Wisniewski, Robbins, a rock in the middle, Sims and Kennedy up front. Gennaro DiNapoli normally plays right guard. Out tonight, he's hurt, so Sims takes over at that spot. The ball at the 13-yard line after the holding call, first down. And Gannon off the play fake throws and goes to the fullback, John Ritchie, who doesn't carry the ball very much, but they like to throw to him. George Coghill, taking the spot of the injured Eric Brown, makes the tackle. Defensively now for the Denver Broncos, the ex-Chief Smith with Traylor and Price having a great year. Tanavasa rounding out the line. Kadrez, the rookie, Al Wilson from Tennessee, and the veteran Romanowski are the linebackers. Crockett and Dale Carter at the corners. Braxton and Coghill are the safeties. Second down and 2, ball at the 21-yard line. Gannon on a roll. He's a very mobile quarterback, and that pass is incomplete, thrown at the feet of James Jett. The ball perhaps a little wet, a little slick, and a bad throw makes it third down.
Now, interesting way the Raiders start this game. They come out with the play action pass, and they're trying to move Rich Gannon out of the pocket. They come in with one of the best running games, and you can see right now they're just trying to establish their passing game. Not a good throw by Rich Gannon. And remember that Rich Gannon is also playing with a broken left wrist. He has taken the cast off, but it is now wrapped very tightly, and you can see right there on his left wrist how he's protecting it.
Third down and 2 from the 21-yard line. They have Wheatley in the backfield. Tim Brown in motion, their leading receiver. Gannon goes the other way, and the pass is caught. Hauled in by Derek Walker, the second tight end, only his 4th catch of the season, coming at an opportune time, moving the chains on the Raiders' first series, first down.
John Gruden was telling us, I was asking him about Ricky Dudley, their stud tight end, who's 6'6", 255, the first-round draft pick out of Ohio State. He said, well, we're trying to work in Brigham and Walker a little bit more. Ricky Dudley can really control the football game if he wanted to. He's just got to get over the fact of being an NFL player and work himself into being a superstar.
John Gruden, the youngest coach in the league at age 36 in his second season. From the 26, they give the ball to Wheatley, and he goes nowhere. Tackled by Ray Crockett. The Broncos say it was a fumble, and they recovered, and there's no such signal.
It's because the ground caused it, and the officials saw it, and they made the correct call.
Despite the protestations of one Ray Crockett, it will be second down. Greg Robinson, the defensive coordinator, signaling in the next alignment.
Take a look at this here. And you can see right there was the correct call, but Tyrone Wheatley would be better served to stay play side, to stop cutting back. That's where the trouble is on this defense. They can pursue, and they have been doing that very well the last few weeks.
Second down and 11 from the 26-yard line. Gannon throws. That's caught by James Jett, and he is tackled up at the 33-yard line, about 3 yards shy of the first down. Dale Carter, the longtime Chief, now coming over here. Big offseason free agent acquisition, makes the hit.
Well, you talk about big offseason free agent acquisitions. Rich Gannon for the Raiders was brought here to run John Gruden's West Coast offense. The West Coast offense, quick drops, quick reads, get the ball to your athletes as quickly as possible. This is not the old Raiders. Throw it down the field, and let's see what happens.
Very different look. Randy Jordan is in the backfield, third down and 4. The deep drop. Gannon buys time. The line did a great job, and it gave him the time to hit Dudley over the middle, and a first down up at the 49, where he's stopped by Kadrez.
When you watch Rich Gannon and Chris Miller tonight, you will see quarterbacks who are seasoned, who don't panic when they're in the pocket, and that they have confidence in their guys downfield. Now watch Rich Gannon just standing in there, and you can see Ricky Dudley. Now this is what I'm talking about. He is a big man, and he should be able to push guys away. And you can see the slippery field and Romanowski falling down. That's why I always believe that an offense has the advantage in field conditions like this.
First down after a 16-yard pickup. Ball at the 49-yard line. Back to the ground they go. And this time it is Kaufman. And he's stopped after a gain of 1. Ray Crockett in on the hit. John Gruden was telling us last night what he wants to do is make Tyrone Wheatley an every down back. But for the moment, it's a little bit of thunder and lightning. Wheatley on a lot of short yardage stuff and first down stuff. And then when he wants to go to the outside, he goes, and there's Wheatley. He goes to Kaufman. Remember, Tyrone Wheatley was a first-round pick of the New York Giants. And you got to be wondering what has happened in the last year since Tyrone Wheatley was traded to the Miami Dolphins and then subsequently released and came out here and now found his game all of a sudden. On 2nd and 10, it's caught by Terry Mickens, who loses the football. And the Broncos come back the other way with Cordrez carrying it, and Gannon saves the touchdown by forcing him out of bounds. You can see right there, what happened? What happened? Easy to lip read that. Mickens lost the football, and Cordrez brings it back the other way. Watch the play by number 20, Torrey James, ripping the ball out. Defensive backs are taught to do that, and there are all kinds of tip drills that defenses run in practice, and Glenn Cordrez is right there pursuing to the ball carrier. That was Crockett who forced it. Since he got both feet down and possession, it's a fumble and not an interception. Ball at the 20-yard line. 21 make it first down, and this is Chris Miller dumping it off to Olandis Gary, and he takes it to the 15-yard line. A lot of stories tonight which we'll develop as we go along. Certainly Miller is one, Gary is another. Chris Miller out of Oregon, spent 3 years out of football because of several concussions. Back he comes as a number 3 guy here, and now he's number 1, at least for the moment. Gary is in the backfield with Howard Griffith, the blocking back. Smith and McCaffrey outside. Carswell, the tight end. Shannon Sharp still hurt. Teague, Schlereth, Nalen, a Pro Bowler, with Neal and Lepsis, a very light and mobile offensive line. None of those guys more than 300 pounds, and that's very rare these days. On 2nd and 4, they give it to Gary. And Gary, who played his college football at Georgia, as did Terrell Davis, is stopped by Anthony Newman. 3rd and short. The Raiders now defensively. 4-man line. And real tough in the middle. Harris and Johnstone outside. Maryland and Russell, a pair of rocks inside. Same sort of rookie out of Michigan. Beekich, an every down backer. Harvey, the other outside backer. Woodson, the Heisman Trophy winner, with the birthday boy Eric Allen. The corners, Newman and Eric Turner, are the safeties. Eric Allen, 34 years old today. 3rd and 1 with the ball at the 12-yard line. And they give it to Gary again, and Gary is able to slip a tackle in the backfield as Richard Harvey was there, stopped him for what should have been a loss as Terrell Davis looks on, hopeful that his team has picked up a first down with the second effort. Now, I was going to say that Olandis Gary, if he looks familiar, he's built almost exactly like Terrell Davis, and the fact that they both played at Georgia. Let's take a look and see if his knee hits the ground right here. Ooh, very close. Ooh. But this is the type of things that Terrell Davis does as a running back. He's able to break tackles and make first downs, and Richard Harvey's got to make that tackle in the backfield. It's tough on defenders in this cold weather. They don't want to take on big backs. They don't want to take on backs and meet them in the hole quite as stoutly as they would if it were a little bit warmer out. Sting is there a little bit more, if you will. I'll bet. 26 degrees, wind chill 17, at least for the moment, not snowing. But more expected tonight, another inch or two, they're saying. First down at the 11-yard line. Miller, great protection, but the secondary does its job, and then Miller takes off in the end zone, and he is down just shy of the goal line. Concussions be damned. The guy who had to leave the game because of concussions, forget the slide. He's diving for the end zone and just comes up short. Talking to Chris Miller the other day, he was telling me how much fun he's having resurrecting his career, and certainly he wanted to make sure that he played for a team that played on grass for this particular reason right here.
And look at the poise in the pocket. He sees it, he puts the ball down, and he goes for it. And I don't know, to me that looks like it's a touchdown.
Well, even if he didn't get the touchdown, I believe he got the first down because it was 1st and 10 from the 10.5. Newman is there for the tackle. They're going to measure.
Looked like Newman got right.
Only played on 2 Monday night games, and Chris was hurt for both of those. So in his 92nd NFL start, it's his first start on Monday Night Football. And it's 1st and goal from the 1-yard line. And they give it to the up back, and that is Howard Griffith, and he's in for the touchdown. Ed Linesman took a look, came in from the side. Howard Griffith in for the score. And the Broncos capitalize on the fumble as Howard Griffith picks up his 2nd touchdown of the season and his 1st on the ground.
Now when you talk about the offensive line of the Denver Broncos and how small they are, but what they do very well, they use their technique. They stay below down there of the defensive lineman, root them out, and allow the fullback to get in underneath them.
Elam for the point after. So give a big assist to Ray Crockett, who extracts the ball from Mickens. Denver, who would normally be starting at right guard, is injured. And they're also missing Matt Stinchcomb, the top draft pick, another offensive lineman on the shelf tonight. This is a short kick fielded at the 13 by Calvin Branch. And he draws a crowd up at the 20-yard line.
And now when you watch the Denver Broncos, you could see that they're flying tonight. It's a testament to the job that Mike Shanahan is doing.
And the Raiders are in town the day after Thanksgiving. From the 22-yard line, they begin this drive with the Raiders with Wheatley taking it for a gain of 2, where he is tackled by Trevor Price, who's having a terrific season. Price, an interior defensive lineman with 7 sacks.
He really is. I was talking to Greg Robinson, the defensive coordinator, yesterday. He was telling us that this is probably, there he is, one of the best players on his defense, and he says that his defense has played about as well as it's played last year. The problem is that they're just not getting the points that they were getting last year from their offense.
2nd down and 8. Gannon is 5 of his first 6. Under pressure and taken down. The tackle is made by Ma'a Tanuvasa. So Maha gives him a little aloha just about the line of scrimmage. Gannon has distributed the ball tonight. His 5 passes have gone to 5 different receivers. John Gruden, who's the head coach and in effect might as well be the offensive coordinator because he calls the plays, and that's Gruden on the headset to Gannon.
Remember, he came from the Philadelphia Eagles where he was the offensive coordinator, and prior to that in Green Bay.
3rd down and 9. Oddly, the only Raider who hasn't caught one is their leading receiver, Tim Brown. Gannon under pressure again. Shows mobility, but the secondary does its job. Cadrez hits Gannon as he gets the pass away, and the pass is incomplete.
And you could see Gannon just going after number 89, Williams, right there. He wants him to come back when he sees that he's in trouble and you're the receiver and you see your quarterback coming to you. You have to come back to him to give him a chance to throw it to you to make a play. And Williams was just hanging on the sideline doing nothing.
Leo Araguz to punt. Not much of a win tonight. 23-yard line of scrimmage. Chris Watson, a rookie from Eastern Illinois, the alma mater of Broncos head coach Mike Shanahan, to run it back. High floating kick, not much distance, and fair caught at the 40-yard line by Watson. And that's where the Broncos will begin their next drive after a 38-yard boot. 6:36 left in the opening quarter in the Mile High City. 7-0 Denver. Gibbs, the highly respected assistant head coach and offensive line coach.
Depending on who respects him.
Yes.
Certainly Darryl Russell, the defensive tackle for the Oakland Raiders, has taken issue with the way that the offensive line of the Broncos blocks and what they do interior-wise. And we'll be watching that tonight to see what's happening down there.
There were a couple of wars of words this week as Miller throws and it's caught. McCaffrey makes the catch up at the 43. Russell getting into it, contending that the Denver offensive line used illegal and dirty tactics. And then Tim Brown and Dale Carter had their own little tete-a-tete in the press.
Well, they've been going at it for years with Dale Carter playing in Kansas City. It seems like each of these teams cannibalize one another when it comes to free agency. The Raiders taking Darian Gordon away from the Broncos, their punt returner and defensive back. So Tim Brown knows Dale Carter very well, and Dale Carter is a very physical defensive back.
2nd and 6. That's McCaffrey in motion. And Miller goes to McCaffrey. Eddie makes the catch at the 49. A little stiff arm, and that nets the first down. He puts his hand into the face of Charles Woodson. It's almost as if he's giving the Heisman to a Heisman Trophy winner to pick up the first down.
Well, you talk about a big-time player. Ed McCaffrey's certainly developed into that over the years, and he's a tough guy, too. And Mike Shanahan said he's a warrior. And you can take a look at this. This is just a little hitch pattern where he goes out and then he wants to make the yards after the catch, and he's not going to take any guff from anybody.
No, Ed says take this Heisman.
Absolutely.
At the 48-yard line, they give it to Gary, and Gary spins his way for a gain of 3. Olandis Gary actually started his college career. He was a kid who grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, went to high school in neighboring Maryland, started his college career at Marshall in West Virginia, then transferred to Georgia. And you think about Georgia, the running back, I mean, you go back to Herschel Walker and then to Terrell Davis, Garrison Hurst, Robert Edwards, Olandis Gary.
And when I watch this game, Al, these first few plays, Olandis Gary on 3rd and 1, breaking a tackle of Richard Harvey and making a first down, ultimately leading to a touchdown. Then the straight arm by McCaffrey, you could see that the Denver Broncos are just more intense right now than the Raiders are.
Miller throws and finds the open man. It's Smith at the 31-yard line, and a first down. He got inside Eric Allen. They'll move the chains, and we go to Leslie Visser. Les?
Al, mostly well, Terrell, how is your rehab going, and are we going to see the old Terrell Davis?
You will see the old Terrell Davis, and the rehab is going great. I think I'm probably 2 weeks ahead of where I need to be, and so that's fine. I think I'll probably start running another 3 to 4 weeks. So, but it feels great.
Has this been hard on you emotionally?
It's my first time coming back today, so sitting on the sideline has been tough. And you know, I've never been in the stadium without playing, so it's kind of tough.
Talk a little bit about Olandis Gary. He's doing a great job in relief.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, and he comes to me and we talk about it a lot. And he's such a kid that he has all the natural abilities to play this game, and you don't really have to tell him too much. He's a natural lad. He went to Georgia.
That's right.
He went to Georgia, so he's just a natural running back, but he's doing well.
Well, we miss you. Be well. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Leslie. And while you were talking to Terrell, I'm sure Terrell would have loved that Dan Neal block, which sprung Gary for a first down. Gary has carried 4 times for 22 yards and has caught a pass for 6, and they give it to him going to the left side this time. And Gary picking and threading his way and stutter stepping his way to the 14, breaking a Newman tackle. And again, the classic workhorse is Gary, Olandis Gary, who was inactive for the first 4 games. There it is, over the first 6 games of his career, Boomer. He's carried the ball more than any other man in the history of the league.
And Mike Shanahan told us yesterday, if there is a silver lining when it comes to injuries, is that you get the chance to look at some young players. And right now they're showcasing Olandis Gary. He's showing that he's a big-time player. He really thinks that he can develop into something superb of a running back.
2nd down and 5 from the 14-yard line. Gary again. Flag comes in. Look at a guy like Gary, and you wonder, why, if you're the Denver Broncos, as a holding call will bring this back, why do you use a 4th-round pick running back when you have the best running back in football in Davis, and then you have Derek Lavelle? But, it's like buying insurance.
Yep, it is buying insurance, but most NFL team personnel guys will tell you that they're going to take the best athlete available on the board. And it might not be able to fill a need, but certainly right now it is filling a need.
Holding call pushes him back. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Ford F-Series. The best-selling trucks are built for tough. Budweiser, the beer with a fresh, clean taste that's never filling. CNET, the source for computers and technology at CNET.com. And Walt Disney Pictures and Pixar's Toy Story 2. The toys are back in town and only in theaters. It is 2nd and 15 from the 24-yard line. The fake to Gary. The pass is caught at the 15-yard line by Easy Ed McCaffrey. It'll be 3rd down and roughly 6.
There's Shannon Sharp, the Pro Bowl tight end for the Denver Broncos. Questions are, will he be here next year? The way the salary cap works in the NFL, he might be a salary cap casualty for the Denver Broncos. And Seeing how Byron Chamberlain and Dwayne Carswell and Desmond Clark are playing right now, again, it gives an opportunity for Mike Shanahan to evaluate his younger players at that tight end position.
3rd down and 6, and Denver's going to take a timeout on Saturday. After a timeout, 3rd down and 7 for the Broncos from the 15-yard line. Toss back to Gary, and Gary takes it to the 11, so they're 3 yards shy of the first. Tackled there by Mencian. Jason Elam will come in to attempt the field goal.
People will say, why would you run the ball in that situation as opposed to throwing it? Well, you look at tendencies of opposing defenses all week when you're studying the films, and the Raiders have a tendency to play a lot of man coverage down here in blitz. So you try to get outside and run against the blitz, but that time the Raiders broke a tendency and they did not blitz. So the proper defense against the running play.
This a 30-yard field goal attempt by Elam. Tom Ruin puts it down. And Jason, who last year was the guy who kicked that 63-yarder to Ty Dempsey's mark, sends this one through. 1:13 left in the opening period. It's now 10-0 Broncos. How's life for that man, John Elway? He's in the stadium tonight. We will talk to him at halftime. We'll talk with John live and find out what's going on in his life. The last time we saw him, last time he was at Mile High, opening night when they retired his number, the Monday night opener against Miami. Elam's kick taken in the end zone and down there by Kaufman. Well, the snow rimming the field, 9 inches of snow in Denver. Let's go back to October 15th, 1984 on a Monday night.
Gary Ellis, single setback. Dickey handoff right side. There's a bobble of Jackson.
All right.
Tom Jackson jars the ball loose. It's picked up by Steve Foley. Foley's in the end zone, very first play.
Now, wasn't that the night that Lynn Dickey lit this place up, though?
You know, that was the night, well, the final score was 17-14 Denver. I remember the scoring came early and not particularly often. At the 20-yard line, Gannon gives it to Wheatley, who picks up just 1 to the 21. Dickey did have a big night. My man Steve Hurt tells me 371 yards.
I remember that. I remember
night.
watching that game. It was my rookie year in the NFL, saying, this is what I'm going to have to play in some of these years. Actually, looking at Tyrone Wheatley, John Gruden was telling us one of the reasons that Tyrone Wheatley has fit in so nicely was because of the off-season conditioning program that he had to go through for the Miami Dolphins. He credits Jimmy Johnson for getting Tyrone Wheatley in great shape.
2nd down and 9, and they have Zach Crockett in the game. A tailback, the fake to him. Gannon throws and overthrows Jett, who got behind Carter. Coverage coming on the other side as well from Coghill. Incomplete with 22 ticks left in the period.
Well, Dale Carter was a guy who early in the season was hearing the boos from the Denver crowd. He was the big free agent signing in the offseason, gave an awful lot of money, but really has solidified this particular coverage. And you have to remember, in Kansas City, they played a lot of man coverage. Here, zone is interwoven into that, and he had trouble adjusting to that. He's a man coverage type of player.
3rd down and 9. He's played offense from time to time in his career, and Charles Woodson, the Raider cornerback, has played offense, but not so far tonight. That's caught by Rand. No, it's not caught. Randy Jordan went down, couldn't hold on. Glenn Pedrez with the coverage, and Oakland is 3 and out.
And that offensive line of the Oakland Raiders early on in this game gave Rich Gannon plenty of time. The last few times that Rich has dropped back now, the defensive pressure has gotten to his face and is forcing him to underthrow balls like this.
Gannon coming off a terrific performance last week against San Diego as Araguz gets set to punt. Chris Watson, I mentioned he went to Mike Shanahan's school. Eastern Illinois had no idea that Shanahan had gone there until he was drafted and came here.
Shank.
And a bad punt. And the Broncos will take it in Raider territory. Whew. Well, the Raiders, as they march it off, it's going to be at the 40-yard line. The Raiders and the Broncos have been doing battle since 1962, original AFL teams. That was a 19-yard boot. And there they are, the matchups most prevalent on Monday night through the history of this series. Cowboys, Redskins 10 times. Bills, Dolphins. We had one of those earlier this year 10 times. And tonight's the 10th Bronco Raider game. And they, in the 9 previous games, Broncos have won 4. Raiders have won 4. and one tie.
The Raiders haven't done well the last 9 games. Was Shanahan's 8-1 versus the Raiders?
That's correct. Since Mike took over here in 1995, 8 wins, 1 loss, including a win earlier this season, 16-13 at Oakland. From the 40-yard line, Miller's going to put it up, throws, and falling down wide open. Rod Smith at the 25. Nobody was there, but he slipped on the turf, and Lance Johnstone plants Miller.
Now, when you play on a field like this, it's so important for you to stay over your feet. And it's vitally important for the receivers to make sure that they're able to stand up like this. And you can see the quarterback has got some problems back there delivering the football. He's got a guy right in his face. It's the receiver's responsibility to be able to make that adjustment and come back and catch that football. Well, maybe not that one, but maybe a little bit closer next time.
Miller's first incompletion. He is 5 of 6 in a second down and 10 from the 40-yard line to the ground to Gary, and he goes nowhere. Knocked down by Chuck Osborne at the line of scrimmage as the quarter expires. We played 1 in Denver, with Denver leading Oakland 10-0. And Monday Night Football returns. Look at the offensive production. Is that the takeaway by Denver, where Crockett was able to get the ball from Mickens, set Denver up, and here as we begin the second quarter, 3rd down and 10, and action before the snap.
Long enough knowing that, and every now and then you can get away with one. But those officials are also looking for that now, because this is one of those things, one of those rules that the defenders have been complaining about for years.
Right, changed it a couple of years ago. Officials clearly more conscious of it. 3rd and 15. They have to get to the 30 for a first down, and that's where do they get there? A flag comes in. Billy Miller makes the catch, holds on.
Look at this. He's right up here, and watch how he gets ridden out of bounds and then comes back inside. And you can see right there where he's out of bounds and then comes back in and catches the football. You can't do that.
Yeah, and in fact, you can decline it because even though he caught it, it wasn't a catch to begin with.
Right, and Charles Mincy did the right thing. When you're an underneath cover guy like that, you have to push him out to the sideline. Don't give him a free release.
Tom Ruin floats one, and that's the perfect place to float one when you can pin him inside the 20. Fair caught by Gordon at the 14. Denver has it. Barely in the middle, Boomer Esiason and Leslie Visser. The Raiders have begun their average drive to start at the 17. Meanwhile, Denver's had much better field position, obviously. And again, Oakland begins deep in its own territory at the 14-yard line. Gannon, a short drop, and that's a low throw at the feet of Kaufman. 2nd down. Let's go down to Leslie Visser. Les?
Al, just a note on Shannon Sharpe, who broke his left clavicle in the first game against Oakland. He told me before the game he'd like to start practicing after the bye week. That's next week. And he would like to play against Jacksonville his first game. That's on Monday night. Al?
That's in 3 weeks. The Broncos will play before they take on Jacksonville. They will take on Kansas City here after the bye week. And then to Alltel Stadium. This is Wheatley up to the 21-yard line. He turns the corner about 3 yards shy of the first. 3rd down upcoming.
No, interesting thing on that last play out, I was watching Ricky Dudley, their tight end, number 83. And these are the things that he has to really work on, is blocking at the point of attack, especially when he's in movement. They brought him in motion, and they brought him around the corner to lead Tyrone Wheatley, and he got caught up with the defensive back. And this is the type of thing, you watch him here at the bottom of your screen, going off the screen right there. There's no, he shouldn't be there. He should be up inside looking for a linebacker. Got to find the spot and make the play.
3rd and a short 4. Gannon is 5 for 10, and he's missed his last 4. They're going to send Kaufman to the right side, and nothing happened because they penetrated, did the Broncos defensively, to almost knock him down in the backfield, and they had no chance.
Not only did they penetrate, but they pursue and they run, and you can see 9 guys in the frame making the tackle on Napoleon Kaufman. Greg Robinson has done a wonderful job of keeping this defense together. And watch this. Here's the penetration, forcing Kaufman outside. And here come all the Broncos. Look at this. This is the way you play defense. You hustle and you make the play.
Aragouz to punt. Chris Watson to return it. High floating kick. 33-yard boot. Fair caught by Watson at the 48-yard line. Neil Smith pretty happy about the way things are going so far. Why not? His team lead. Well, there's a greeting from the Aloha State, and why not? The Broncos have the only two Rainbow Warriors. The two University of Hawaii guys in the league are Jason Elam and Ma'a Tanovasa.
Jason Elam.
Yep. And Pat Bolin spent a lot of time in Hawaii.
And you spent a lot of time in Hawaii,
a lot of time, and we will be spending a lot of time there at the Pro Bowl as well. On first down, this is Olandis Gary for a gain of 1. It'll be 2nd down and 9. This is our 30th year of Monday Night Football. Who are the best ever to play on Monday night? Well, you can vote online at ESPN.com or NFL.com, and then the all-time team will be announced Super Bowl Sunday, January 30th, right here on ABC.
Here's Derek LaVille right there facing the camera, and Terrell Davis to his back. And I think that if Terrell Davis lasts a few more years, we might get him on the All-Monday Night team. What do you think?
I think the way he has started his career, he'll be on the All-Monday Night team, the All-Sunday team, the All-Thursday team, and in Canton. 2nd down and 8. Little throws. It's McCaffrey. McCaffrey with a stiff arm again. A first down. He was covered by Eric Allen, and he says, there's a little birthday greeting for you. I'll give you the Heisman as well. And off he goes.
And watching Ed McCaffrey reminds me so much now of Chris Carter, and the way when he catches the football, he is just determined to make a play. And to see a wide receiver carry that type of personality is really something special. And it probably all started mainly with Jerry Rice. The San Francisco 49ers, so much was made about running after the catch, the yards after the catch. And Ed McCaffrey's become one of the better receivers in the league in doing that.
And a big play guy at the 33-yard line. And down goes Miller in the grasp, well, almost good enough grasp of Russell Maryland.
We'll take a look at Russell Maryland's arm.
Yeah, right.
If you got hit by that arm, Al, you might not get up for about a week.
That's a euphemistic grasp. Serve the purpose. Number 1 pick in the draft by Dallas.
When you see a 300-pounder coming around the corner that quickly, look at this. You wonder why I retired, Al?
Well, that's Maryland's first full sack of the year.
And he's 300 pounds coming around a stunt like that, unblocked. Oh.
And on 2nd down and long, Denver is forced to use its 2nd timeout. Well, he started the season as their number 1 quarterback, Brian Greasy, Bob's son, but now with a shoulder injury. He's in uniform, can play, but Boomer, they hope to keep him out at least a week or two.
He's the long-term future for the Denver Broncos. Mike Shanahan loves this kid and certainly thinks that he can get him back to a championship with him at quarterback.
2nd down and 19 after the penalty, and that is after the sack, and that was knocked down by Grady Jackson.
They love Grady Jackson, and one thing that I will tell you, in watching the Raider defense now, the last few series, looks like they've really picked it up. The Raider offense has got to catch up a little bit here and start moving the football and getting these guys off the field. You can only stay on the field so long here in Denver with the altitude the way it is. And you can see the way John Gruden is. He is just in-your-face type of guy, and I just love his spirit.
I do too. You know, he makes for great television because you look at him and that's the ultimate game face. And he looks so intense and almost like a mad professor, but he's a very engaging guy with a very open face, and he loves to laugh and loves to smile. But you never know it just by watching him on the sidelines. And on 3rd and 19, he could smile over that because Rod Smith dropped it, 4th down.
And again, the defense comes up with a huge stop right here. You can see Rod Smith looked to me like he turned his head before he actually put the ball away. And you look at those two receivers, Smith and McCaffrey, coming off the field. A great tandem out here in Denver. You had to look that football in. Rod knows that. I don't have to tell him.
So 4th and long, and they're forced to punt. Marion Gordon, 2nd all-time in punt return average. And he won't have a chance here, and a great Denver bounce as it doesn't go in. There are flags down, 2 in fact. For the moment, it is down to the 7-yard.
This right here. You could not do this. Be smarter than that.
As Oakland takes over for the 5th time, and they give it to Wheatley, and he escapes a tackle in the backfield, and then Crockett and Carter knock him down as he gets to the 7-yard line. So here are the Broncos through 10 games, leading 10-0, Boomer. A mark of 3-7, as we said, though, at the top. They've been in almost every game. And when you look at this team, and Pat Bowlen feels the same way, the owner of the team, he's very sanguine. He's very optimistic about the future.
Well, he should be. He's getting a look at a lot of young players who are playing well. And Mike Shanahan, and you can talk about the Super Bowls and how great the coaching job he did the last 2 years, and some would look at me and say I'm crazy, but he's done a great job with the team that he has, and he's keeping them in games.
2nd down and 8, and that's dropped. It was dropped by James Jett.
And you wonder if it's because of the cold weather. I can't imagine that James Jett and Tim Brown and these guys, Dudley, they've played here before in cold weather. They should be able to get over that.
Right. In terms of the Broncos, just to follow up on this, there are teams that right now are very much on the decline. San Francisco, for instance, problems. There's no question about that. But don't put Denver in that category right now. There's too much talent. They've had too many injuries.
And they're young.
That's a whole other case. And you're talking 2 teams each with a mark of 3-7.
Right, and you found Chris Miller, an older quarterback that certainly can still play, and you have your quarterback of the future in Brian Griese. Not many teams are that lucky.
3rd down and 8. Gannon under pressure, escapes a sack the first time, and then almost gets tossed for a safety. His forward progress is outside the goal line, so at least he avoids the safety, as Glenn Cudrez nearly picked up 2 points.
2 huge plays by Glenn Cudrez tonight, and right there showing his veteran understanding and knowing that Rich Gannon had nobody open downfield, and he just left his position. Glenn Cudrez is in the middle. He's backing up in his zone right now. He's reading Rich Gannon. He thinks he's going to run. He sees now he pulls it back. Let's go get him. And makes a great play.
Right.
Glenn Cudrez was the starting middle linebacker last year, who's been moved to John Mobley's spot, the weak outside linebacker, and their young rookie is now taking over Cudrez's spot. So a nice play by Cudrez. Good.
Now a short 10-yard snap, so Araguz has to get it away in a hurry, and it's blocked. It is blocked, and if it's recovered out of the end zone, it's a safety. Detron Smith blocked it.
Now it is a safety, and I can't even tell you how impressed I am with the level of intensity that the Broncos have. You would think they're the ones fighting for their playoff lives, not the Oakland Raiders.
It is almost impossible to get a kick away when the ball is snapped from the half-yard line.
And it was blocked by a guy who actually was blocked.
Detron Smith, 42 for the Broncos, comes in, and it will wind up blocked by Smith, who is trying to work his way through Jordan. If it's recovered in the end zone, it's a touchdown.
Araguz steps on him.
Yep, there's a little toe dance. It's 12-0.
Punters really don't get a chance to hit anybody, but
look at that. Right into the back of Anthony Lynn.
Tough deal. Usually that punter's back 12 to 15 yards out. When you're backed up like that, you got to close your splits up. The lineman, the fullback's got to move up, and everybody has just got to be real stout at the point of the attack. The punter also has got to take one step and kick it and get it out of there.
And the snapper's got to snap a rocket is what he has to do, too.
Does this look like a 3-7 team to you?
No, not at all. Certainly not a team that ever thought about quitting.
You wonder after a Sports Illustrated article that came out after week 4.
Cover piece when they were 0-4. And that's a bad kick by Araguz that is fielded by Billy Miller at the 40-yard line.
And Billy Miller made a great play just getting on that football. Remember, that can be looked at as an onside kick. That ball is live as soon as it goes over 10 yards.
A reminder, join the countdown to Wednesday's exciting finale.
Isn't he? He looked good. He looked good. He's just looking good.
From the 40-yard line, 1st down. Gain of 3 as Olandis Gary takes it up to the 43.
Now, I was talking about that last play on a punt like that after a safety. If the punt goes 10 yards, you can make it like a kickoff. It could be an onside punt. And there was a Denver Bronco back there who did not go after the football. He backed away from it, and the receiver for the Broncos, Billy Miller, made the play, went after the football.
Second and 7, ball at the 43. 8:45 left in the half. 12-0 in the game dominated by Denver. Miller going deep. He has McCaffrey out in front and can't get it to him. Eddie had beaten the coverage as he got by Eric Allen, but Miller just slightly overthrowing it. 3rd down and 7.
People wonder how a guy like Ed McCaffrey, his size, can get past people. I think his speed is deceiving, and Eric Allen right there probably can't believe that he would run past him.
Ed McCaffrey, at one point a couple of years ago, he was the possession guy and Rod Smith was the big play guy. Now it's the reverse. There it is. In his first 110 games, he had 140-yard reception, and over the last season and a half, you saw the figure right there, 9 of them. And there is a timeout taken right now. 3rd down and 7 after the Denver timeout. And Miller's pass is incomplete. He tried to hit McCaffrey in amongst 3 white shirts.
That ball just got away from Chris Miller. He actually had his receiver open, Ed McCaffrey. And remember, the ball is slick out here. The field is wet. Every now and again, the ball's going to get away from you, and right there it did. It's the only reason for that inaccuracy. One of the things that Chris Miller is really known for is his accurate passing.
Tom Ruin to punt it. Darian Gordon back to receive it. It's a short and fairly ugly kick. And Denver's going to down it at the 18. And the ball had the momentum to travel a little farther, but Steve Russ is the man who downs it at the 18. And even Ruin says, "Steve, what are you doing, man?"
Well, it's Monday night. I got to get on somehow.
8:23 left in the half. The Denver defense and Greg Robinson has put together a package thus far tonight that has completely stymied the Raiders. You had Mickens losing the ball. Crockett got it loose. Kadrez then ran it back. That led to a touchdown. You had the sack there by Ma'atanovasa. And then it was Gannon taken down there by Kadrez almost for a safety, which led to the block punt, which eventually turned into a safety. Now from the 18, here's Gannon to throw. And he sidearms it. And that's knocked down by Al Wilson, the rookie, the #1 pick out of Tennessee. And the guy getting to play because of the injury to Mobley knocks it down.
And Al, since the first series, Rich Gannon has not looked real solid back there. And Al Wilson makes a great defensive play right here, diving, knocking the ball down. But again, I think it's more because of the accuracy of the throw. If he puts the ball out in front of Wheatley, he's got a chance. He's got to get it out in front. Right now, he's just not throwing the ball very accurately.
No, he's missed his last 6. Now the draw, they give it to Kaufman, and he's able to string it through the middle. And that's what Oakland needs, a little bit of a burst right there. And Napoleon gets out to the 33.
They need anything right now to keep their defense on the sideline and just allow this offense to somehow chew up some time and get some points here. 12-0 is not a very big score, and certainly 12-7. You get the momentum back a little bit, and that's exactly what they need to do right now.
Bill Callahan is the offensive line coach and has the title offensive coordinator, but it's Gruden who makes the calls and talks to Gannon. This is the first down for Oakland since the opening drive of the game from the 32-yard line. Gannon slings it, and it's picked off by Carter. Carter inside the 20. Gannon can't stop him, and then finally he is rolled out of bounds inside the 10. James Jett saves the touchdown.
You know, Dale Carter can do all the dancing he wants. It was really nothing that he did that forced this interception. It was just a bad pass by Rich Gannon behind his receiver. Take a look at this. James Jett is wide open. Just deliver the football. Carter's playing off because he's respecting the speed of James Jett, and Look at that ball come fluttering out of there. You can do all the dancing and all that kind of stuff you want, but
So Gardner runs it back to the 9. It's 1st and goal. Miller with 7.5 to go in the half from the 9-yard line. Pressure is put on, and that time bursting through was Lance Johnstone. So the fake to Gary, and then Johnstone with a lot of speed. A 4th-year guy out of Temple, who was their 2nd pick in '96.
it's the 2nd time he's gotten back there, and again the Raider defense finding himself down deep in a hole, and you could see right there the blitz. Look at all those guys that they're bringing, and Johnstone gets back there quickly. What you like to see at an outside linebacker position.
2nd and goal
Speed.
at the 9. Yep. Gary, the tailback. And this time it's Miller on a draw to the 7-yard line. Quarterback draw.
You think that was a draw?
Yeah,
or
I'm
busted
wondering.
play?
It looked like he goes back. It was a fake. You tell me what that was.
It was interesting. is what it
Shanahan
was.
wants to know himself. Yeah, I can't imagine that's in the playbook. Can you?
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, they do have it down here. Remember,
at
John
that-
Elway. This
at
is a
that point-
staple play of him. It looks like he feels the pressure, and well, 2nd and 10 maybe.
We'll read about it in the papers tomorrow.
Right.
3rd down and goal from the 7. From the shotgun. Miller, a little floater, and it's knocked down. It just hung too long. He tried to get it to Chamberlain, and Marquise Walker was able to get back and knock it down.
And you can see how angry Chris Miller is with himself. Drill it back there, throw it high, and let Chamberlain go up and get it. Chamberlain is actually open, and every week we see this. When you get down in here, the defenses basically make a picket fence right in the center of the end zone. And you try to throw the ball over that picket fence, and Marquise Walker makes the play, but you have to get it back there with a little speed on it.
25-yard field goal attempt for Jason Elam. Tom Ruin to put it down, and the kick is perfect.
Hey, great job by the Raider defense, though. They're keeping it close.
They did. At least they keep the lead a 2-possession lead at 15-0 with 6:37 remaining in the half. Well, when we see the Raiders on a Monday night, we can't help but think back to 1987 at the Kingdome in Seattle. Raiders at Hawks.
And only one man to beat, and easily can't run him down. He had the angle, but there goes Bo, and nobody catches Bo. Touchdown.
He may not stop in Tacoma.
Phil Danny went all the way to Olympia that night. He went 91 yards on that play. That was a coming out party for Bo Jackson. The Oakland Raiders, as you can see, a playoff drought here. And again, this is a critical game for Oakland in as much as the AFC is dominant this year. 5 teams, 8-2. So a 10-win season is no guarantee you're going to get into the playoffs. 6:37 left in the half. This kickoff is a short one. It's taken by Napoleon Kaufman. And Napoleon across the 50, and then Elam finally runs him out of bounds inside the Denver 40-yard line. Torrey James had a chance to make the tackle early on and couldn't. And Kaufman sets Oakland up in its best field position of the night.
Finally, some field position for the Oakland offense. Let's see if they go for it here now and play aggressively and stop playing passively. And you can see right here Kaufman catching the ball on the run, looking for the wedge, looking for that little seam, and James misses the tackle. And that's basically what plays like this come down to. Usually somebody has a chance to make that play.
47-yard run back by Napoleon. First down at the Denver 40-yard line. Gannon under pressure throws, and it's dropped. Wheatley can't handle it. He was blanketed by Al Wilson. Second down.
Drop, but you wonder where the throw is. You have to get the ball out in front of these guys, and it looks like Rich is struggling tonight to deliver the ball where he wants to deliver it. There's a little bit of pressure on the last few plays. Nothing that really should create such problems for him in the pocket.
Meantime, Tim Brown still no catchers. Gannon is 0 for his last 8.
You can see him audibly and signaling out to his wide receivers now.
And what he's signaling is a running play, and that was Kaufman, who gets taken down by Keith Traylor before he gets to the line of scrimmage.
Well, so much was said about the Oakland Raiders having their best offensive game last week against San Diego, and we're seeing no signs of that thus far tonight.
0.
And what we're seeing is we're seeing a Denver Broncos team, especially this defense, is absolutely shutting them down. And remember, in the last 6 games, Al, I believe, Tim Brown's caught only 1 pass over 20 yards and no touchdowns against the Denver Broncos.
They know exactly how to defend him. 3rd down and 13 from the 43. Split back alignment. Gannon dancing, and then it is juggled, and it is caught for a first down at the 20-yard line. Ricky Dudley, and that's been the bugaboo for him, dropping balls. At least that time he was able to juggle it and recapture it. Big first down.
Big first down, big man. A guy like that he only has 15 receptions coming into this game. And I was standing next to Shannon Sharpe on the sideline, and we were marveling at the size of Ricky Dudley and how big he is. When you have a man with that kind of ability, you should be able to get the ball to him, but he's not holding on to the ball cleanly.
Former basketball player, 6'6", 255, ball at the 20-yard line. Under 5 minutes to play in the half. The short drop by Gannon, and the wobbly duck is incomplete. Intended for James Jett. 2nd and 10. Neil Smith, a long-time Chief, and the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Broncos, they keep exchanging. It's almost like you want to bring a guy in from your arch enemy to get into the other team's playbook.
Or deplete the other team, and really what you do is you look at, you say, who in your own division has been killing you for years?
Right.
Certainly Neil Smith has been that against the Broncos, and now certainly he's on their team, and also Dale Carter.
In '94, the Broncos actually made an offer sheet to Tim Brown, which was matched by the Raiders. That is caught by the fullback Ritchie, and Ritchie goes for the pylon and scores. John Ritchie for the touchdown.
Al, if you battle, you just stay in there. It's a simple, easy play right here where the linebackers get caught inside. You talked about it before. John Ritchie doesn't get the ball handed to him very often, but they will throw it to him. And you can see right here a fullback that has the ability to catch the ball, turn up the field, and score the touchdown.
First TD of his career. You saw Gannon signal 2, and Gruden says not here. You 2 the next time. You get the 7 here, then you go for the 8.
You don't do the 2 until the 4th quarter until you think you need it.
Well, I would go for it at 15-7, but there it is right there. The extra point is good. It's a 1-possession lead right now.
But you know, to go for 2, my thing is don't go for 2 until you absolutely need it in the 4th quarter. I don't like going for 2 now because you never know where that 1 or 2 points. You don't know what the future holds, the immediate future holds in the 2nd or 3rd quarter. For the amount of points you're going to score.
Gruden just hopes he has to make that call.
Right,
when,
he will.
When the score is 15-13. Right now it's 15-7. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by GMC. Do one thing, do it well. MGM Pictures, Bond is back. The world is not enough. Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. And Charles Schwab, when we created a smarter kind of investment firm, we also created a smarter kind of investor.
You know what I'm talking about, the 2-point deal, Al, is if you need it in the 4th quarter and you need it in the 4th, fine. Why use it now? You know what I'm talking about?
There are 2 sides to that coin.
You might be getting down in the field goal range here before too long. You score another touchdown, kick a field goal. Way too early to go for 2 right now.
Yeah, normally when a coach gets, it's funny, if he got the 15-13, my guess would be he'd go for 2. There's something about, just being able to tie the score. But first things first. Fielded in the end zone by Chris Watson about 4 yards in. He brings it back to the 24. It was the run back by Kaufman that set up a very important Oakland drive. Next week, Sunday Night Football, Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann, Paul McGuire, they'll be in Carolina, the Atlanta Falcons, to take on the Carolina Panthers. And then Monday night we go to 3Com Park in San Francisco. The 49ers are reeling, but Green Bay seems to be hot again. Brett Favre, good performance yesterday against Detroit. Packers 49ers on Monday night next week.
I saw Brett talking about his thumb. He said it's starting to feel better. He's starting to throw the ball accurately. And he looked good yesterday. He looked real solid.
At the 22-yard line, first down for the Denver Broncos as Olandis Gary breaks 3 tackles, puts his head down, and finally gets stopped at the 28 by Charles Mincy. Mike Shanahan was saying last night he's impressed upon Gary so much the fact he shouldn't fumble. He said, I may be restricting his running style because he's covering that ball and wants to make sure the last thing he does is fumble. He said once he really feels a little bit more confident carrying the ball, you're really going to see some moves.
And you could see right there just what it means to run through tacklers. I mean, in defensive linemen, defensive backs, I mean, he's doing it all tonight.
2nd and 4. Looks like a horticulture major right there. He hasn't fumbled in all those carries this season, and there he is again.
He hits the hole, and I mean, he hits it with a vengeance. And just figure he's sitting there watching Terrell Davis all through training camp, the first half of the season, and he's really picked up on it. The best teacher is to watch the master.
I asked him last night. I said, "What do you know? You're a guy had a good college career. You get drafted by Denver. Were you disappointed?" He said, "No." So I knew I wasn't going to start. I knew I could learn from the best. But here's a kid who might have been inactive for every game this year, were it not for the injury to Terrell Davis and then the subsequent injury to Derek Lavelle. 3rd and 3, and that is caught up at the 41 by Rod Smith, who comes back and angles his body away from Eric Allen and moves the chains.
Now, this is the way you come back for a football. Eric Allen was actually playing underneath Rod Smith, knowing that they only needed 3 yards. Eric Allen's a smart player. He's been around. He's 34 years old tonight. And Rod Smith fought him off and came back and got the football. I really like the way the Bronco receivers are aggressive and they come back and get it.
From the 42 on first down, back to Gary. Probes the right side to the 44. 2nd down and 8. Stop by Grady Jackson. Leslie, what you got? Leslie.
Al, Willie Brown was the Hall of Fame cornerback who played, of course, here with the Broncos until 1966 and was legendary with the Raiders until 1978. Well, Charles Woodson told me that playing at Michigan, winning the Heisman Trophy, was nothing compared to the pressure of wearing Willie Brown's number. He said he wasn't intimidated to meet Al Davis, but he never wanted anyone to say, you don't deserve to wear number 24, Al.
Willie Brown, great quote. Tony Jones, the left tackle, with a triceps injury, and they expect him back shortly.
Well, there's one of those injured Broncos that they're not playing with. And also remember, no John Elway, no Steve Atwater.
Right.
Names that we've become familiar with over the years watching the Broncos march all the way to the Super Bowl.
But we will have John Elway in the booth at halftime to find out what's new in his life. 2nd down and 8. And that pass is caught by Rod Smith, who breaks the tackle, picks up the first down, and is finally forced out of bounds by Johnstone. Broke and Anthony Newman's having a hard time tackling people tonight. Several missed tackles, 13-yard gain.
Well, we talked about it. It's a little chilly out here. It's about 20 degrees or close to it. And defenders have a hard time grabbing on to guys like this, and you can see a nice block there, but you have to make those tackles, and these are the plays that the Broncos have been making that the Raiders have not been making.
1st and 10, Denver at the Raider 44-yard line. Miller 8 out of 16 tonight. And he sidearm hook caught by McCaffrey at the 41-yard line, taken out of bounds at the 29. First down, a run out by Mincy. So the Broncos, 1:45. Remember, the Broncos are out of timeouts on this drive. They used all 3 earlier.
And you know that Ed McCaffrey knows that. So where does he go with the football? How smart is this guy as a football player? He goes right to the sideline to stop the clock.
Stanford guy. Yeah. That's what they teach him at Stanford. Get out of bounds.
I'm sure Mike Shanahan teaches all of these guys that.
First down, 29-yard line. Denver by 8. Waiting moments. That's an out. Caught by Travis Travis McGriff, who backs up Ron Smith, the extra wide out. And McGriff is taken out of bounds, and that stops the clock.
And you can see right there why they love Chris Miller now. You can see he has a strong arm. He gets the ball out there quick. One of the things I'm most impressed with is that he's thrown it to all these different receivers. And take a look at this throw, right on the money. And the clothesline tackle of Mincy.
Second and a short one at the 20-yard line. Miller's going to take a chance. He headers and throws, and Ron Smith has it flipped away, ticked away by Eric Allen at the very end.
Exactly the way you want to cover it. Eric Allen, like I said, has been around, so he knows what to look for. They try to double move on him. Seen just about everything. It's a little bit of an out and up. There he goes on the up pattern. And look how he returns for the football. A lot of young defensive backs don't have the ability to do that.
He's an old defensive back.
He is, but he's still a good one.
34 today. 3rd and 1, seeking the first down, and Gary's, well, he wasn't going to get it. Then he gets it in a lot more, but loses the ball, and the Raiders have it at the 5 as Mincy recovers it. What a play. He was stopped for the loss, picked up the first down, and his first fumble of the season is a huge one. Sam Sword hits him. Mincy recovers it, and the Raiders stave off the Broncos.
And Al, you jinxed them.
I did.
Yeah, you did jinx him. You said 5 minutes ago that Mike Shanahan's been talking about fumbling. Right. But this is the type of player that Alandis Gary is. He does not want to go down with the first hit. How many times do we see running backs go down? But look at the vicious hit that Sword delivers to force the fumble. That's not one of those things where he was holding a ball away from his body. You could see right there, he's got the ball up and tight, and that's just a perfect hit.
Sam Sword.
Sam Sword delivered the sword.
Yep, at least saving a probable field goal, maybe a touchdown. Raiders have all of their timeouts, but they have a long way to go, and they begin on the ground, and they give the ball to Napoleon Kaufman, who picks up 9 up to the 14. It's one of those situations where you want to get at least some distance between you and your own end zone before you start calling timeout.
Right, I think right here, this is the key play. If you can get a first down or maybe even a significant gain, then you might go into your 2-minute offense. The Raiders have to feel fortunate. They're only down by 8 right now at this point in the game with the way the first half has gone thus far.
2nd and 1. They seek the first down, and it's Kaufman, and he gets stopped shy of the 20, so they can't pick up the first down here. Traylor makes the hit. They're going to let the clock run down. The Raiders have all of their timeouts, but it's almost as if they're content right now to sit on an 8-point deficit. And they are.
Yeah, and certainly not the place you want to have a turnover, so a smart move by John Gruden. Obviously, if they were up around the 35, 40-yard line, he'd be well into their 2-minute drill at this point.
All right, so a reminder, John Elway coming up at the half. Chris will have his top 10 from New York and also the BCS standings on the Lexus halftime show. 3rd and 1, and this half will end on a Napoleon Kaufman 3-yard gain. So the Raiders are able to get back in it. Kaufman sets it up with a good run back. They pay off with a touchdown toward the close of the half, and the teams leave the field with the Broncos up.
It feels a lot better nowadays than it used to, so that's why I'm glad, but I'm not glad.
It's almost like the title of an old love song. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? What are you going to do with your life over the next couple of years?
Well, I've kind of just taken some time this fall, and I've got some real exciting things that I'm looking at, and I've got an e-commerce site coming out in a couple of weeks that we're real excited about, and so I'm working on that, and plus I got to coach my son's football team this fall, and that was a lot of fun to be able to spend some time with him, and also my daughters who are very busy in soccer.
How important is it for you to get back to football, either as a coach or an executive or in broadcasting in the future?
I think in the long run, that's something I want to do. I've been in football my whole life with my dad being a football coach. That's what I know. That's what I'm best at. But I'm going to take a couple years away from it for now, and then hopefully down the line I can get back into it because that's where my love is.
A bunch of quarterbacks have retired and put uniforms on. Randall Cunningham, Chris Miller, you're not thinking about doing that, are you?
No, there's no uniform going back on. The body can't take anymore, and I abused it for long enough, and so it's time for me to be nice to it.
Let's pretend you're in broadcasting right now, and you had 20 or so seconds to sum up the 1999 Denver Broncos. What would you say?
Well, I'd say that they've had it's been a tough year. It's been a disappointing year. I'm sure that they had high expectations coming out and wanted to three-peat. Had several injuries that have really hurt them, and losing Terrell and some leadership positions have really cost them. So, but the thing is, they're 3-7, but they've been in every football game that they've played, and as you can see tonight, they're still playing hard. Mike's got them playing hard.
You're looking great. Best to Janet. Good to see you, John.
Thanks, Al.
Carpool tomorrow?
Yep, you bet.
Okay.
You bet.
John Elway joining us tonight in Denver, where the Broncos are leading the Raiders at the half. It's 15-7, second half when we come back on Monday Night Football.
Fumbles the football, and the Raiders recover at the 13-yard line. It is Travian Smith who recovers the fumble, and so the Raiders with a chance right now perhaps to tie it up down by 8. And Rick Dennison with that look of consternation.
Al, every week we see this. It seems like two different teams come out in the second half, and right now the Raiders ran down the field and just absolutely hammer Watson right here. And take a look at this. Randy Jordan, number 28, knocks it loose. And I think the Raiders sense that they have to get this game under control to save their playoff lives.
No doubt. Tim Brown without a catch in the first half. He's wide to the right. They begin on the ground. They give the ball to Wheatley. The yard may be 2. John Gruden calling in the play to Gannon.
Take a look at this fumble here, and let's take a look if Nate Wayne, number 54, doesn't knock it out. It looks like he might have. But still, it's because of number 38 and the hustle of getting down the field. Randy Jordan.
Second down and 9 with the ball at the 12-yard line. Gannon surveying. Secondary does its job and getting free then in the end zone, and catching it for the touchdown is Ricky Dudley. Dudley caught 2 Gannon passes for touchdowns last week, and now with 56 seconds gone in the third quarter, they are down by 2, and they are going to go for 2.
He must have listened to you at halftime, Al.
Well, you're down by 2. You got to take your shot here.
You talk about instincts, and it's one of the things that Ricky Dudley certainly has as a wide receiver. He's working his way at the back of the end zone. This time gets away from Glenn Kurtz, but you can't ask those guys to cover them that long. You have to get to the quarterback.
From the 2-yard line, the 2-point conversion, which would tie the game. They fake it to Ritchie. Gannon escaping. Gannon throws. Caught. 2-point conversion. And that's James Jett. And Jett quick, the Raiders have tied it up.
56 seconds. Here we go. We got us a ball game.
A look of disgust on Robinson's face, and the game is tied 15-15. And we're now knotted as Michael Husted's kickoff is fielded in the end zone. Chris Watson to run it back. And the Eastern Illinois rookie out past the 30. And all the way out to the 41-yard line. Let's go to Leslie Besser.
Al, that opening drive must have made John Gruden happen. He said at halftime, we aren't tackling. We've had terrible field position, and I know that Rich Gannon can play better than that. Bingo, mission accomplished. As for Mike Shanahan, he said we aren't making enough clutch plays, and we have to make them in the fourth quarter. The only team they've beaten in the fourth quarter, Oakland. Al?
That's a good point. Yeah, the Broncos noted, of course, with Elway at the helm for those fourth quarter comebacks. Now they've been giving up leads in the fourth quarter.
They've been falling apart in the fourth quarter. And you look at the way Rich Gannon threw the ball, those first 2 throws that he had in the second half, looks like a different player.
From the 41-yard line. And there's action on the left side. There was movement.
You have much hatred in your heart.
Critics
Against the top. Right now, over me.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
College football coming up this Saturday on ABC, beginning in the afternoon. Regional action, Arizona against Arizona State, Georgia, Georgia Tech. And then Saturday night in prime time, it's Notre Dame against the Rose Bowl-bound Stanford Cardinal. Raiders have it at the 28-yard line. Gannon throws, caught by Brown, his first catch of the night, and it's a big one, and he takes it to the 49-yard line of Denver.
Al, you and I were just talking. They've got to get the ball to Tim Brown. He has 60 receptions coming into this game. Hasn't had a ball thrown to him until this point right here. I think the biggest beneficiary of Tim Brown has been Ricky Dudley tonight. He's found room for 3 catches. And look at this. All they do is he's the outside guy. They bring him underneath the 2 guys that are streaking down the field, and they create illusions in that zone defense that the Broncos are playing.
Little miscommunication here, and the backs have to come up and ask Gannon what's going on. Play call and the count. First down, split back set. Gannon throws, and it is caught by James Jett, who had to reach back to make the grab.
But no panic on the face of Rich Gannon. That's 4 in a row now that he's completed. He's audibling at the line of scrimmage, one of the most difficult places to audible in the NFL, right here in Mile High because of the noise of the crowd. And you can see he's poised. He's come back. He's playing well right now, and he's in a zone.
Brown comes out for the moment to get some grass taken out of the helmet. And mud and dirt, 2nd and 4 at the 43-yard line. Kaufman. And he dances his way toward that first down marker and appears to have it. He does. Out of bounds at the 38-yard line. Now, Gannon, he had a terrible game a couple of weeks ago against Miami. A fabulous game against the San Diego Chargers last week. Tonight he's had 2 games within a game.
4 touchdowns last week against San Diego, and
25% on the 31st, and then after the bye week, completes 3/4 of his passes.
Where does Steve Hurt find this stuff?
He's up all night, every night, with an abacus. From the 38-yard line, Wheatley to the 26-yard line, and the entire game has shifted. It's all Oakland right now after it was all Denver for the first 25 minutes.
Momentum and emotion, and certainly a fumble by Chris Watson at the top of the second half, and a kickoff return has kind of ignited the Raiders a little bit. And I'm sure John Gruden read them the riot act in the locker room at halftime for their lackluster play, especially on offense.
First down, Oakland at the 26 of the Broncos. Wheatley, and coming up to stuff it at the line of scrimmage is Tyrone Braxton. Tyrone Braxton, a 12th round draft choice out of North Dakota State, 13th year in the league. He has spent all but 1 year with the Broncos. He went to Miami in the mid-90s for a year, then came back. Yeoman duty through the seasons.
Somebody that they can count on, and certainly still has a lot left in that tank. Look, throwing his body in there. 13-year veterans taking on big backs like that. It's a lot of courage, Al.
2nd and 8 from the 24-yard line. Gannon over the middle, and it's incomplete. Threw it into traffic, and it bounces off Ray Crockett, intended for Brown.
This is an area down here where you have your big tight end and Ricky Dudley. At 6'6", 255, should be able to control the middle of the field. And I was asking John Gruden last night, how come he doesn't get as involved as, say, a Shannon Sharp would in Denver? He says, well, you know, we like our other guys, Brigham and Walker, too. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's not catching the ball as cleanly as he should. Although he's doing well tonight thus far.
3rd down and 8. Gannon throws. It is caught out on the flat of the 20-yard line. Caught by Ritchie, but he's tackled by Crockett. Short of the first down by 3, and now Houston will come in to attempt what will be about a 36-yard field goal.
Nice tackle by Crockett, staying low on the fullback, Ritchie. And when you're a defensive back and you see a big rumbling fullback coming at you, go right for their legs. That's obviously where you want to take them.
It'll be 37 yards for Houston to try to give Oakland its first lead of the night. Aragouz to put it down at the 27. And Houston's kick, not even close.
I don't know what Aragouz and Houston had for pregame meal, but whatever it is, they better look at it. Oh, man.
There's a flag thrown at the end of the line this year, the center, but here a personal foul and a costly 15.
Really is, and it looks like inside you have guys who have hands up in the face mask, and you can see Robbins and Neil Smith going at it. And I didn't really see anything that warranted a 15-yard penalty.
So here's Gary now as he takes it up to the 46-yard line, stopped by James Harris.
But as we saw Barrett Robbins on the sidelines, there he is. If you have a kid that looks like that, make him a center, because that's what centers look like. Look at him.
When you think of the Raiders, I mean, the Raiders are noted for centers in their 40-year history. Jim Otto, Dave Dalby, Don Mosbar. And then this guy looks like he's going to be of that same ilk.
Exactly. They're very happy with him, and he's certainly, that's where the anchor has to be the center, the tough guy in the middle, much like for the Broncos, Tom Nalen is.
Second down and 6. Pressure is put on, and there's a flag thrown as Miller goes down in the grasp of Lance Johnstone.
That will be holding. Now, every week we see this momentum shifting, and you can see the level.
Just give them one chance, yeah.
3rd and 6 is a makeable number. It's not that difficult for an offense, so I can understand why they wanted to tack the extra 10 yards on.
It's a gray area. There's another flag here on second. Keith Jackson would say a couple of teams that don't like each other very much.
Least penalized team in the NFL.
2nd and 11. That's Gary. Stop for no gain. Well, Gruden comes out of a football family. His father, a regional scout for the 49ers, was an assistant with the Buccaneers under John McKay, and his brother, Jay, is the youngest head coach in the Arena Football League with Orlando.
There was talk of him maybe receiving a nod to become the next head coach of LSU, and his response to that was, they must be talking about my brother Jay Gruden, not me. I like my job.
Yeah. 3rd and 11, halfway through the 3rd quarter. The game is tied. Miller, McCaffrey, and he is stopped well short of the first down. Charles Woodson making sure he went no farther.
See, if it's 3rd and 6, you make that first down.
Well,
but it's not.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just saying, if it were, you'd make it.
If it was. If sugar and spice, well, no.
I know. You talk about the Raiders penalties, though. They're averaging 6 penalties per game, and basically, like I said, they're the 9th fewest in the NFL, which is really a good job by John Gruden, because they're notorious, or have been notorious up to this point, about being the most penalized team.
Definitely. Bruins kick, fair catch called for, made at the 19-yard line by Darian Gordon. And Oakland will take over at the 20 with 6:47 left in the 3rd. A good one at Mile High. The designer noseband.com. Oakland from the 20-yard line, and Wheatley is taken down in the backfield by Keith Traylor. When you look at Traylor and Price, Boomer, in the interior line, they are well fortified.
That's like Bowens and Gardner down in Miami, and usually when a player like this makes a play, he either jumps over a tackle or a guard, and right there it's over a tackle, and that's the type of athleticism you like to see from your big interior guys.
Look at that. Denver with a 1-yard advantage, and the game is tied. 2nd down and 13 from the 17-yard line. The blitz, but Gannon escapes, throws, and it's a big first down to Ricky Dudley, who makes the catch. They sent Cadrez from the outside, and the nimble Gannon was able to get away. Smith is slow in getting up after a 22-yard gain here.
Gannon got away, and Dudley makes a clean catch. He looks it in, and he gets precious yards after the catch. And when you talk about a guy like Ricky Dudley, again, Al, watch Gannon move away. He doesn't panic. He resets, and throws a strike right to Dudley, who makes a nice catch, puts his shoulder down, and gets an extra 5 yards. That's the type of plays that kid should be making on a more consistent basis.
Injury timeout while they work on Smith, who's walking off the field with 5. Neil Smith working it off on the sideline. Meanwhile, Eddie Money's going to guest star as Mimi's ex-husband on the Drew Carey Show Wednesday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here on ABC. First down for the Raiders in a tie game as they begin from the 39-yard line. And that is caught by Brown, his second catch of the game. Tim Brown, a first down and into Denver territory at the 49.
And why is that second catch significant for Tim Brown, Al?
Has a pretty good little streak going.
It sure does. And you talk about these guys that have streaks of 1 catch in consecutive games. Well, Tim Brown has 102 games with 2 receptions.
Second longest streak in NFL history, and it's pretty easy to guess who the #1 guy is.
My main man, Jerry Rice.
See him next week. San Francisco against Green Bay. First and 10 at the 49-yard line. Wheatley. Nothing happening in the middle. Smith is out, and for the moment, you've got Tanavasa, Price, Grasmanis, and Hasselbeck along the line. Leslie, what you have?
Al, there's a lot of confidence here on the Raider bench. Russell Maryland cautioned his teammates not to get into a confrontation. He said, be smart, walk away, don't worry, we've got this one. Al?
Wow, that's the Raiders saying that?
No.
You'd never expect the Raiders to say that, would you?
Power of positive thinking.
Absolutely.
Second down and 8.
And he can sense it. I sense it up here.
At the moment, second down and 8 at the 46-yard line. Wheatley again started to cut it back and then proceeds over left guard at the 41-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 2, tripped up by Grasmanis. Rich Gannon, part of the class of '87, as was Miller. Gannon was the 98th choice in that draft by New England in the 4th round. Miller, the 1st-round pick of Atlanta, went as the number 13 guy.
Who else? Jim Harbaugh.
Harbaugh was in that class.
And Kelly Stouffer, I believe, as well.
Right. 3rd down and 3. From the 42. Gannon fires over the middle and finds the open man, and it's Brigham, the tight end, to the 11 and a first down. Jeremy Brigham.
You talk about the West Coast offense. This is the way it works. You send 3 players to one side. You allow your quarterback to read the coverages. He plants, he throws, and he finds his backup tight end right in the seam of the zones. And Brigham now taking a page out of Ricky Dudley's book and making some yards after the catch. And I wonder if Ricky Dudley hasn't picked up his game because of the other guys that are playing tight end for the Raiders now as well.
Right. Brigham's 8th catch of the season, and now Wheatley, and he gets taken down at the 5-yard line by Ray Crockett. Otherwise, they may have gone all the way. The Raiders under Gruden are the type of team that likes to run the ball as opposed to passing it in the red zone. You take somebody like a Mike Holmgren, for whom Gruden worked. Mike loves to pass in the red zone. Gruden loves to run it.
Well, this is like an offensive coordinator who wants to do his thing, and he wants to take his offense and put his stamp on it. And John says, hey, I love the run down here.
2nd and 3 from the 5. Kaufman is the running back in this set. They give it to Napoleon. Nowhere. Smith, as you can see, is back in the game. Al Wilson makes the initial hit.
Now, every week we get down here in this tight red zone area, and you always look for the vulnerable spots in the end zone when you go back to pass. And most defenses will not cover the back half of the end zone. So you either work on the outside one-on-one with your tall receivers, which the Raiders do not have. They don't have a Randy Moss out there or a Chris Carter. As good as Tim Brown is, he's more of an internal inside receiver. But you can use your big tight end, Ricky Dudley, to get in behind and throw it up over the shorter defensive backs.
And as they come up to the line of scrimmage, a little too much time on the play clock had expired, and so they take a timeout before a very important play. 3rd down and 4 with 1 minute and 51 remaining in the 3rd. Skiing. Well, a skiing scene anyway. You know, Malibu Kelly Hayes actually lives in Aspen.
So let's call him Aspen Kelly Hayes.
Well, no, we cannot.
Didn't he go to Brisbane this summer?
I don't know, but all I know is that they'll be skiing in the mountains after 8 inches of snow in Denver.
Well, I'm talking to the people here in Denver. They said Monday night, snow, that's good.
Yeah,
we want people to come out here and come to our ski mountain.
It hasn't snowed during the game, though. He had 9 inches earlier today. 3rd down, 4 from the 6-yard line. Gannon under pressure, sacked back at the 16. Big sack by Kadrez. Gannon is slow in getting back up. And now you've got a chip shot field goal that turns into about a 33-yarder from a guy who missed one from about the same distance a few minutes ago.
And he wasn't even close.
And Gannon in agony. So they go from a near touchdown to a questionable field goal possibility and a quarterback who's grimacing.
Remember, his left wrist is broken, and it looks like it got grabbed right there by the defensive player of the Broncos.
Michael Houston, 33-yard attempt. Araguz puts it down, and it's good. So Houston is able to give Oakland its first lead of the night. And now the question becomes, what about Gannon? The backup quarterback is Bobby Hoying. The number 3 quarterback is Wade Wilson.
You know, I wonder if it's his wrist. Now, he has that chip in his left wrist. He's got it covered. He's got it wrapped. And every time he takes a snap, it's got to hurt. It's got to remind him. John Gruden was telling us yesterday that when he does fall to his left side, that he's unable to brace himself. And you wonder if it's not a rib cage or a shoulder. And take a look at Glenn Kadrez comes flying back there against. It seems like Glenn's all over the place tonight. And let's take a look here at what he grabbed. He's grabbing his wrist. Okay. You wonder if he fell on it, because he's unable to brace himself because of that left hand or his left wrist.
So you saw Hoying and Wilson both loosening up. When you list somebody as the 3rd quarterback, you can't bring him into the game until the 4th quarter. Otherwise, you lose the other guy. But we're almost to the 4th quarter now anyway. So they could bring in either guy if it's necessary. Here's Watson to return the kick. Watson out past the 20. There's a flag thrown. And he's taken down to the 44-yard line.
Now, it's awful cold for those old guys.
From the 12-yard line, this is Gary with a big hole. Or, Boomer, you could use Hoying as the setup guy, and then Wilson comes out of the bullpen to close it and gets the save.
I don't know. Wade Wilson's been standing on that sideline all night tonight, and I just can't imagine that he's thinking that he's going into the football game.
Bruised right rib, and it looks as if Gannon's prepared to come back in as the seconds tick down here in the 3rd. Gary swings to the outside, and Gary up to the 31-yard line. So 2 good runs in the waning moments of period 3, tackled by Beekert.
And you saw there the silky moves of a running back that knows how to get outside and get away from the interior pursuit. And I am very impressed with him. The first time that I've seen him obviously live, but I've watched a few of their films, and he is a physical running back. And I can't get over the resemblance that he has in body type and size and speed to Terrell Davis.
2nd down and 1. Final play of the period. Miller's going to throw, and it has it knocked down and nearly picked off by Richard Harvey. So I had it right there. End of the 3rd quarter with a score. Oakland 18, Denver 15. Monday Night Football returns after this from our ABC station.